The deck of many things is probably the most iconic treasure item in all of Dungeons and Dragons. You know, part of the reason is its reputation for high risk and high reward. It's been around since the beginnings of the game. It's been depicted on some popular internet versions of D&D. And I think it appeals to, an innate fascination with risking everything on a single turn of a card. So for players, it's the holy grail of treasure items, and they want to see it in every campaign they're in. Yet for just as many GMs and a fair amount of players, there's always been talk that the risks of the deck of many things, both for players and for a campaign, outweigh the benefits, and that this item should, be relegated to the, curiosity shop of legacy magic items. Well, as always on this subject, I am here to offer my humble opinion. Hello again, folks. KR King here, helping you homebrew your own D&D campaign. So the Deck of Many Things is a classic legacy magic item from the first edition of Dungeons & Dragons, and I can say that having played that edition in the 70s and 80s, even back then, as GMs and players, we were struck by the singular power of this, seemingly innocent deck of cards. So you had 13 or 22 cards that could bestow upon a person drawing them unbelievably powerful magical effects. Things like 1d4 wishes, or 50,000 experience points in some unusual magic item. Or they could send the drawer to a, planar prison, the void, by which a wish could only give you the location, it couldn't rescue you. Or a powerful devil that's out to get you to the point of death. You are the devil. And you could draw as many of these cards as you liked. You just had to declare before you started drawing them. And the two worst cards, the Void and Dungeon, made the deck disappear. So if you did draw one, no one else could draw, say, a wish to try to at least find the location of your void soul. So we were always very curious as to the how and why of creating such an incredibly powerful magic item. And the answer, of course, like so many things in those early days of D&D, is that no one knew, the how and why, and it didn't really bear close scrutiny. It's just a game in a fantasy world, and let's face it, we're defying the laws of physics and reality all the time in the game, and the Deck of Many Things was just another example of this. And generally I could buy into that in terms of playing D&D, but the Deck of Many Things, it sort of went at some game mechanics that kind of held the game of D&D together. So the concept of leveling up, which meant, you grew in abilities as you defeated monsters or accomplished tasks, or basically just lived your life, could be, overruled by a deck of cards, or that it could override the power of a wish, which was, absolutely mighty in those days, to prevent any rescue from the void. And finally the fact that if you drew the worst two cards of the deck, the Dungeon and the Void, the deck disappeared, which was the ultimate screw job because you couldn't even get a wish at that point from the deck in order to find out where the soul was. So back in those days, like a lot of first edition rules, we homebrewed the deck considerably, altering things because we wanted to maintain the excitement of drawing. First of all, you had to fight some incredible monster to get the thing. It was exciting, but we didn't want to screw up our game. So you flash forward to the 5th edition version of the Deck of Many Things, and what's interesting to me is how remarkably similar it is to the 1st edition deck. Although importantly, the Void and Dungeon card don't have the effect where they instantly make the deck disappear, because that was a screw job. But in comparing that and seeing how similar the deck is to that first one, the question arises as a GM, do you want to use the Deck of Many Things as is written in the book? Or as a player, do you dare draw a card from a Deck of Many Things as it is presented in the book? And I believe, as defined in the book, it remains not worth the risk, and it still runs counter to the idea of playing the games to get your reward. So 50,000 experience points is actually worth a lot more in 5th edition in terms of your character going up at level, even if they're super high level, which you would assume characters would be if they're going to run into something that has a Deck of Many Things. But is it worth losing your character permanently? Because you can just earn 50,000 points playing the game. So the Dungeon and Void card are obvious killers, but changing your alignment or reversing it. Unless you're neutral, changing your alignment from good to evil is a major pain in the ass to your character. You may not be able to run with the group. Basically, it's just roll up another character. A devil becomes your mortal enemy, out to ruin your life, ruin the lives of your loved ones, torment you until finally killing you. Not fun. It'd be great to have, proficiency in persuasion and have it doubled. You do get a keep with that, although there's monsters in the keep, undefined, that you have to kill in order to, get the keep. But on the other side, having all your saving throws be -2 until a god or someone draws the fate card intervenes, this is going to be a pain in the ass at a much higher degree and frequency than the persuasion rolls. And even if someone does get a wish card in the middle of the deck, wishes are notoriously fickle. They often have unintended consequences. And the point is, from a GM standpoint, why shouldn't they have unintended consequences? You didn't have to draw from the deck. And here's the other thing. A deck of many things has its own sort of intrinsic metagame power. Even if your players know that the rewards aren't really worth the risks, most of them won't be able to resist drawing a card. It's an iconic item, you rarely run into them, and human nature says, I won't draw a bad card. I'm lucky, that's for someone else, I'm gonna make it. And you might say as a GM, well, hey, if they understand the risks and they still want to do it, that's up to them. Well, there's some problems, because even if they understand the risks, if you get a wish, for example, and, it doesn't quite work out the way they wanted, they were rushed or whatever, they can be resentful. The Vizier card, where they have up to a year to ask some question and they're waiting to find out some pertinent information, some killer strategy against a villain, and it's not quite the same, they might get resentful, because it's like, wait, I was risking, going to the void. I won this thing, and it's not up to, it's no good. The second thing is, something like a devil who seeks to ruin a specific player, or the change of a line that I talked about. Suddenly it changes the tone and the focus of the campaign. Everything becomes about that player, and the other player, even though they know, yeah, we took the chance on the deck, it can sort of screw up your campaign. So how can you have the fun and excitement that, comes with the classic deck of many things without having consequences that ruin your campaign? The obvious example is to just scale back the cards, reduce the risks and reduce the benefits. You can use some of the examples that they give in the wish spell, where they have specific things that a wish spell can do. Granting immunity to the players of some specific thing for 8 hours, or giving everyone in the party all their hit points back. You can also put a time thing on there. It doesn't have to be instantaneous. They can do it within a month, or some time frame. So the idea is, they got that wish card, they can use this sometime for desperate trouble. You could make the dungeon plane card or the void more accessible to the players, easier to get to. You can have some of the characteristics changes, say the idiot card, more easy to change, or they only last for a certain period of time. But the problem with this approach is the characters realize that they're getting a deck of many things light experience, and it just doesn't have the same excitement level as you have when you have great rewards and great risks. So how do you prevent the reaction of, oh, it's a wimpy deck of many things? First of all, what you want to do is you want to alter the form by which the selections are made. Perhaps it's a chessboard, either actual size or scaled up to a room. The players go forward and they have to, pick up a certain chess piece. So they can still understand that there'll be deadly effects, but since it isn't a specific deck, those effects, woe or weal, are specific to the, chessboard of the ancients. The thing is, this allows you to get rid of or alter what I consider to be the most egregious cards in the deck of many things. The dungeon, the void, the wish, the fates, and the flame card. What you do is you just call them something else. So the dungeon card becomes the, prison rook, and you alter its stats accordingly. The avatar of death becomes the guardian bishop, and, maybe you use the original stats. The idiot card becomes the pawn of dunces, and you scale it back, as I had mentioned, to avoid permanently ruining some character. Because the thing about altering the form is it's not a deck of many things, it's something totally different. And this could be like a roulette wheel. This could be, runes that you push. And the main thing with these is you still have that true random effect where you have no information in terms of looking at the pieces in terms of what they might do. Now, again, if you want to really do that, you might have just stones, identical stones or something like that, so that it isn't like, I think the rook is going to be, the king is the most powerful piece on the board. That's what I'm taking, that kind of thing. Because the thing is, as I said, with human nature, they're going to go for it anyway, right? Even if with no information, just stones, they're going to try this. But there's another idea in terms of picking out items with, either, tremendous rewards or risks. And that's to not have this total random selection process. So think about like in the Indiana Jones thing where they go into the room and the Knights Templar Guardian is there and they have all the goblets and he says, choose wisely. So if the players go into a room of goblets and they're told to choose wisely, they might say, maybe I should do a little bit of research. Maybe I should try to find out something to figure out what are the good goblets or bad. So you could also vary the levels of the, let's say, goblets, where you have a lower tier where the risks and rewards are less. Then you have an upper tier, which you're taking a huge chance. The players know this. They think about it. They do some research. They try to make an educated guess, and then they go for it. And here's the final thing. If you're going to have a super tier, if you're going to have something with, incredible risks and incredible rewards, know your party. Because you may have a party member, a player that I don't care how much you warn them, I don't care how much you tell them this could be horrible, this could ruin the party, the campaign, they're going to go for it. We all know that player. And the thing is, you've spent all this time developing your world, working on the campaign, running for 4, 5, 6 hours at a time. Don't let a player ruin that just because they can't resist themselves. So when it comes to creating your own deck of many things,
choose wisely.
So there you have it, my take on this classic magic item. If you like what you've seen, please subscribe. I'm always looking for more. Please leave comments. I always answer them. But most importantly, my friends, keep playing this game, D&D, this game we love, and tell somebody else about it.